As you may have figured out from the Krogan with the saucy voice in the last video, I have been playing Mass Effect Andromeda. I know what you're thinking, and yes, I am well endowed with quality girth. Thanks for bringing it up. I got the game firstly as a demo with EA Access, then my internet stopped just as I bought it on a discount, so I missed several early achievements, so that's a colossal flaw right there. But I've decided that 5,000 video reviews of this game aren't enough, so here is mine. I will try to limit the Kevin Sorbo references. That was a blatant, stinking, well-hung lie. The basic premise of the game is that BioWare wanted to continue to milk the franchise, but weren't really 100% committed to cleaning up the utter vegetable shavings of the last ending. They also didn't want to commit to a canon ending, specifically. So with the invention of space magic, they've decided that secretly the entire Milky Way planned a colossal colonization mission to take over another galaxy, without using the mass relays, or of course bumping into the Reapers on the way there. They farmed this sweaty, uneducated nonsense out to the Montreal team, which, as you've probably been made aware of by now, was populated mostly by teenagers, regressive left wrist slashers, hippies, communists, the other unemployable detritus of the human race, and occasionally an actual Canadian. So in a fascinating turnabout, we have a story written by anguish-ridden millennials about humans arriving at another galaxy, fresh and ready to invade someone else's space, and we're actually the good guys. It's like Avatar all over again. Personally, I stopped watching that film after that glorious piece where the human empire, or whatever they were called, smashed that stupid hippie tree to bits, so just assume that's the end. We are quickly given a bulimic Normandy replacement called the Tempest, and we are off to adventure. Fan fiction levels of adventure. First though, let's look at some combat. BioWare of course are truly unchallenged welterweight champions of creating deep, varied combat styles with a plethora of enemy types and combat situations to test even the most swollen-wristed goblin-like PC gamer. This game advances on the previous game's endless bullet sponges by allowing you to hover whilst you shoot at the bullet sponges. In the game's defence, I found a sniper rifle early on that had exploding ammunition. This is possibly the greatest weapon ever invented, allowing my character to become an absolute alien genocide machine, largely because the explosions caused the dodgy hitboxes to expand even further. I was massacring Xeno scum even as they cowered like peasants with their children behind rocks. It was delicious! On the other hand, a sniper rifle that launches rockets kind of defeats the point of a sniper rifle. On the other hand, like some kind of grotesque groping machine installed in Hollywood. In this game where the tech is before the level of Mass Effect 3, despite having vastly superior ships somehow, the characters openly talk about ammo for the guns, so strict adherence to both the universe's rules and sense mean nothing. I personally rate the combat at 2 sorbos, enough for a smouldering look but not quite enough for a shotless pick. Let's now enjoy what technically constitute characters. Unfortunately, Garrus is too busy being super cool in a different galaxy, so we have this assortment of homeless day release efforts to work with. We have Jal, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, who clearly appears to be some kind of used octopus tampon. Cora, who inexplicably looks and sounds like a supreme ruler of the lesbian people, but actually loves catching this dick. Then there is Liam, thankfully not quite the most generic black man to appear in this series, but still incredibly annoying. He is obviously one of those writer insert characters like a Mary Sue, given the pop culture references, the weird manner of speaking and stupid haircut. There is Vetra, which kind of sounds like a German hatchback, and while she operates the impossible mission of running black market deals for resources when literally every single thing in the cluster was brought with them and therefore surely logged somewhere. She is at least probably the most normal of the characters. There is PB, seriously. Again, the fan fiction version of a real Asari, playing up the bog standard I am a rebel with a heart of gold angle. At least they eventually patched out the backwards gun. And then finally, Drac, the wizened old Krogan, who, like most Krogan, is instantly superior to most of the other characters. An old warhorse, tired and expecting to die soon, but eventually convinced of their usefulness by younger friends and family. Honestly, there's no punchline here. This is truly the most developed and introspective part of this game in my opinion. A real character with real issues and stereotype breaking relationships in a game that otherwise plays out like a 10-year-old's fever-ridden startup plans for a cartoon series. Look man, you cling on to hope in this world like a pretty lover clinging onto a door in the middle of a freezing cold ocean after your ship has sunk, even though it was sort of your fault because you were banging sexy ass Kate Winslet in that car and the lookouts were watching you instead of watching for planet-sized icebergs that would ball hump the shit out of your boat. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, there are a few others, like an Asari doctor famously voiced by international cleavage champion and sexual tyrannosaurus Natalie Dormer, a lead villain with a strange hat and slightly sad facial expression, like as if you went to the nearest McDonald's for drive-through and it's closed, so you need to drive like 40 miles to the next one to get that sweet rubber food that tastes like salt and tattoo regrets. A transgender director that was put in there because BioWare are committed to diversity and inclusion and all that bollocks, and they still fucked it up and it had to be patched. Just imagine the writer on that one, eh? Hi, I'm Michelle, strange person, but I used to be called Robert, even though dead naming is like a mortal sin in the transgender world, and it is so bad in fact that you get your previous genitals re-glued on as punishment. Unbelievable, man. A phrase involving the words ham and fist come to mind. A delicious phrase. There is also a Scottish person in it, and as you can see from my playthrough, I made banging her my primary mission. I am coming to colonise your cluster with my arc, even though I'm also a chick. There is the usual assortment of BioWare garbage, crime bosses for some reason, people who hate you and then you do that one thing for them and then they want to suck you off the whole time, this bitch, and so on and so forth. I'm sorry, but this is 1.5 sorbos, not a patch, on Mass Effects 1 and 2. The world, for lack of a more accurate term for a cluster, is based in the Helios cluster. Oh. You scoot around on the galaxy map, battling loading screens and boredom, rotating between the obvious Hoth planet, one admittedly cool asteroid place, the home planet of the octopus tampon people, a swamp planet, and some desert planet with a giant Stargate on it. The usual collection of pus and bile from basic ass sci-fi world building. Even so, actually driving about these worlds in the big car is reasonably fun, particularly on the asteroid as the gravity is low, obvs. It encourages your sidekicks, however, to banter in that idiotic Joss Whedon fashion that fucking everybody does now. There are flying monsters, underground alien constructs that are quite blatantly lifted from Halo. Some pretty vistas and nice areas to look at though, which is absolutely worth the full price, I'm sure you'll agree. A keen scientific eye may ask, if eyes could ask questions, how the various species were able to build ships that could travel to another fucking galaxy in 600 years before they fully knew what the Reapers were, how they were able to pinpoint specific planets in another fucking galaxy to be considered as golden worlds for colonisation, but they were not able to notice the gigantic black webs of dark matter that covered the entire cluster like one of Rocco's money shots, nor were they able to imagine that over 600 years of travel, planets in another fucking galaxy might have changed completely. For me, this is another 1.5 on the Kevin Sorbo scale of sexy, salacious, sensational, salted, shaving scooter, didn't really think I was going through. To the story then. The reason that normal people buy these kinds of games. This incredible mission isn't even technically based around fleeing the Reapers. Most of the people don't even know that they're a thing. A squad of idiots from the major races, but not the Krogan who are brought along in steerage for plot reasons, decide to go live in another fucking galaxy. We turn up and initiate first contact in the traditional manner of sweet, sweet murder. A species that use guns just like our 600-year-old lore-breaking guns is there. And of course they kind of act and look just like us. We discover the oddly half-finished nexus that looks like a gigantic ham slicer, which is the heart of this colonization mission. The people on board seem surprised at this impossible mission, and this incomplete station in another fucking galaxy is turning into so much butt nonsense. Some guy with a keychain for a head wants to kill everyone for reasons, so we flee him and we discover the tampon people hiding on some planet. They don't trust us, of course. Then I do a thing for them and then they trust us implicitly. It turns out, if you care about spoilers, that the entire cluster is covered in Jordan or whatever machines that terraform all the planets. The player character, in my case this sexy ass fox, has the magical connection to the rift, a connection to an AI called Sam that allows me to close portals to the Fade, allows me to switch on the terraforming plot machines of doom. But the bad guys, whatever they're called, are actually just stealing the Tamponians and turning them into bad guys. And then it turns out that Michael Jordan invented tampons in the first place. You discover this when you find the Death Star, the Meridian or whatever, a big space ball, the Epcot Centre thing. Your mission, should you choose to care, is to do the stuff to steal these planets from the native species, eradicate these enemies, subjugate the Tamponians to your will, and rule the Helios cluster as the Inquisitor, the Pathfinder. Let's call this 1.1 Sorbos, shall we? They say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I assume in this case the beholder has lived their entire life in a tent in a refugee camp and spends most of their days stretching their scrotum over second-hand household appliances, sharing bodily fluids with passing raccoons, and exchanging sex stories with elderly family members. This game has the veneer of Mass Effect 1 and 2, in the same manner that a Vauxhall Corsa looks kind of like a real car, or that Sarah Jessica Parker vaguely resembles a human female crossbred with a pony that doesn't get a lot of sleep, or that Mike Pence sort of appears to be leading the Senate into war with the Trade Federation. It looks like Mass Effect has the same clunky but bearable gameplay in parts, but it's not really Mass Effect. Too much mirth and merriment amongst cynical internet scumbags like myself. The game was made by douchey young liberals, and yet, oddly, the plot is overly imperialistic. The combat is something you largely put up with and convince yourself that you are enjoying, like, say, drunken masturbation. You're not really into it, you're getting a sore arm, but you started it, and you don't want to waste an erection, so by God, you'll just struggle onwards. The plot, so to speak, is like the Dave channel, you know? You'll enjoy some stuff there even though you've already seen it 1,000 times before. Basically, this game is Quorn, a godless abomination, a false, fake, forged, fatuous facsimile of the real thing. If you aren't absorbing the soul of the animal to grow your own power, what's the point of eating in the first place? It's the fan fiction version of the real thing. My official recommendation is, buy this game if you really like these kinds of games, but do not pay full price. Second hand is good, third hand is better, or just steal it. Please note, do not steal it. This would be unwise. Steal something better instead.